So this week, where have we got to? Well, you know, so we do the calico on the back of this swell soundboard, so that got completed. Need to paint the front of this. The rest of it's painted. And what I have been busy doing is fitting the new 56 springs onto the pallets. You'll see the spring rails back in. And I've made a modification to this. We don't normally modify things. But the way this is, there's two pieces of timber. I'll tell you what, I'll change the camera position. Where I've marked A, and just further along there towards the right hand side, I've got B. There's two pieces of timber, and if you can imagine when the bottom board's on, those pieces of timber make this rail tight against the bottom, because with all this spring pressure, this is going to bow out and it's going to rest against the bottom, but not quite, because of these pieces of timber, which are spacers. But what I've seen on other organs, and as I said before, I've only seen about 200, is you have a screw between a gap in the pallets and here. So these are 4-inch screws, and I've fitted 3 of them. So by having these screws, the pressure's now against those screws. We're still going to put these in as a belt and braces job, but it means that I've been able to put the springs in without having put the bottom in first, which means I can use the spring catch and 2 hands, and I was able to fit the 56 springs in an hour. Well, it takes a lot longer to guide them through with the spring catch. They'll probably all have to come out and be readjusted, but they're in at this stage and the pallets are springing shut nicely. So the plan today is we're going to fit the bottom board. That's going to want painting, and we're going to put all the pull downs in. I don't need to show you those techniques. I showed you them on the swell one. So that's what we're going to get on with. And what I'd like to happen by the end of today is that we've actually got the soundboard onto the building frame, and we can look for the trunk and connect it up, because once this is in, I'm going to be using this to stand on. We'll cover it up and we'll finish the swell off. I'm not going to proceed any further with the grate. We're going to finish the swell off, get the other 2 ranks of pipes in. So we've got the 4-foot principle, or whatever it's called on this, gems horn. We've got the oboe back from the pipe makers in Leeds, all overhauled. So that can be finished, the shutters can be put in, all tuned up, and there we go. So that's the plan. So you see at this point, the bottom has now been put back on. I did overhaul all the screws, as we've shown before, by filing them and cutting the nicks through, and then putting them on the burnishing wheel. So the things to do, we need to just put some strips of leather around the, can't you remember what the bellows is called? Dear, oh dear, concussion bellows. So we just need to show you. Done the pull downs apart from the last few. I had to go for a lunch break, and so I thought I'd take the opportunity to do the painting before, so it's dried when I come back to it. So just get on with that leathering and put those few more pull downs in. So like before, I'm using a jig that I've made. Move it there so we can actually see. So the idea is that these come in a particular length, and they are too long for this application. So I've made a jig so that we can get the length of the wire right. We've now got that, and that we can get the bend in the correct place. To get it through the brass pull down, to get the pull down through the brass, we need to put a bend on it so we know where it is. I'd like to be able to do it at right angles, but you wouldn't get it through the brass, and then it's a matter of, well, I don't need to get up and I can feel for the hole. Is that going to show on the camera? I'll just try and push the soundboard a bit across the table. Like that. So we're just here. We've got that through, and you can see we've got the bend there. It's a matter of, we want these all in the same, the pull down eyes all in the same kind of position. So it's a matter of getting my pliers where I've put the bend, bending it at right angles, and then putting it through the existing bushing in the bottom of the pallet there. Once in there, and I'm wanting to hold the pallet so I don't put any strain on that, we're bending that upwards slightly, then I'm pulling it taut and then closing that wire up once again with the pliers. And then from the outside, we can pull that up. So just show you the next one. So we'll cut that to, in fact we think we'll do 3. We'll cut that to length. We'll get the bend in the right place. So I want that at right angles to where the eye is. So we've got that kind of angle on it, probably about 30 degrees. Find the hole in the chest brass, that's the correct word. And as we enter that through, you can see where that bend is. Put the pliers back on it. Bend it to a 90-degree angle. Pop it through the existing hole. Bend it upwards a bit. And then tightly in. There's another one in. Cut that to length. And of course we're keeping these bits of 16 gauge because we'll probably be making tracker ends with them. No point paying for things twice, is there? Or is that just me who comes from Yorkshire and that's how we think? So a bit of a bend. So I'm always pleased when a soundboard is 56 note like this one is, and not 61, because it's those few notes less to do, because it is monotonous. But I did do most of them before lunch, so it's been a couple of hours putting those in. Sometimes these bushings will have to be replaced, but it's not been the case on this organ. There we go, we'll pause the video at this point. So as you can see here, we're just putting some strips of leather on the concussion bellows. So it's propped up. Wherever the other prop's gone, it's propped up. And the next thing to do, and I've made a pattern for this, is this. Will go in on the existing gusset like that. There's just a little bit of cracking at the bottom. So I'm not going to re-leather it. As I said before, had this been for a customer, they'd have been given that option. But it's hundreds of pounds. It's not something which is 20 quid. The way I'm doing this, it's going to cost less than 50. But to re-leather it would be in the hundreds. So it's not something I need to do because it's in good condition apart from this little bit of cracking. So of course that would leak, and no doubt did leak when we bought the organ. So there we are. We'll get that done and we'll show you the next bit. I'll just show you we've got these. In fact, to show you around the other side is probably the best thing to do. So this is the other side. We've got the bowl of which will have hot water in it when we when we're just ready for the glue to warm up. And then we've got 4 pieces of leather just there on the back of the calico. They're the ones. There's 4 pieces of leather, exactly like that newspaper pattern I showed you. And they'll be going on those corner gussets. And that will complete all we need to do. And then it'll be a matter of manhandling it in 2 stages. I think we're going to put, what I'm going to do is we're going to put some scaffold planks on top of the console here. So the way this soundboard's on this work table is exactly the way it needs to go when upended. So what we're going to do is put some scaffold planks with some protection on top of here, and because it weighs over 600 weight, and there's only 2 of us, so there's a limit to how far we can lift that. So if we can lift that 4 feet to there, it is, if we just move the camera around, it has to come off the table and onto there. So it would be upended, go onto there, and I think we can manage that. And then stage 2, it'll need to go from the top of the console to the building frame. So I think that's doable in 2 stages. Gone are the days when you need 12 men to help. So the next day, it's time for the scary bit, and that's take the props out and hope the leather doesn't split. Very carefully push it down. So I don't need to push it down any further, but over a period of time this is going to get exercised. I don't mean with a priest. That will go down further, but we're going to let that do its thing over a period of time. All that cracking is just the glue on the gussets, to be honest. But it was at this point that on the big bellows that one of the ribs broke, and it cost about £270 to split it and re-leather it, having replaced a rib. This has springs on it when it's installed. So we've got our faceboard screws. I just need to refurbish those and make sure that they are labelled as faceboard screws. So there we go. That's what we're going to do is to tip it onto its side. And as I say, we're going to hopefully get it up there today. See you later. Right, so there we are. We've managed to get the soundboard without knackering our health up onto the bottom section. So for those of you, does it look any different? But that soundboard isn't on the table and it's now firmly on top of the building frame. So that's where we're going to end. I think it's part 20, or is it part 21? That's it. So we're going to carry on with that, and I think we'll be carrying on with we're going to get the wind onto this. We'll get the trunk out and get the wind on it, but that's where it will end, and we'll carry on with the swell now that's in position. So thanks for watching.